Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, chapter number 9, verse 39. These are prayers of Devas to Lord Vishnu, who were attacked by Bhakti. So before we read and discuss the homework, you want to say something?
Well, to my understanding, the question was who is the seer, right? But it's without the soul nothing happens. Prakriti is inert. So it must be the soul who sees through the filters and instruments of Prakriti.
So that means the knowledge is in the soul.
The knowledge.
Obviously when we is seeing, he must have the knowledge. Yes. Not that somebody is seeing and knowledge is somewhere else. Seeing means knowing, right? You see, or you mean to say that he just sees but he doesn't know what he is seeing.
Well, knowledge is the vidyas in the material, in the Prakriti.
So that means he is only seeing but he doesn't know what he is seeing.
It's ultimate. That's what it appears to be.
So what is the use of seeing?
What's the use of seeing if the soul doesn't
Know what is going on.
doesn't know what's going on?
That seeing is as good as not seeing. What is the difference whether he sees or he does not see?
Well, it depends on what consciousness I'm looking at things. Let's say a cat looking at this picture. So it obviously depends on the consciousness which I'm seeing.
So consciousness means what? The consciousness of the soul is only one type. Or is it of various types?
So there's obviously various types of consciousness.
In the soul.
In the soul.
The soul is seeing and there are various types of consciousness. So where is this various types?
Question.
If you compare cat seeing and human being seeing, these are two different seeing, right? Because there are two different types of consciousness. So that the difference in consciousness is lying inside the soul or outside the soul?
Well, if it were inside the soul, it would be eternal, right? Unchangeable. So it cannot be inside the soul. It must be outside.
So as far as the soul is concerned, it is the same seeing whether cat is seeing or human being seeing. Right? So then if he sees, then what does he see? He sees a table and he sees a chair, does it make any difference? You're all seers. Right? So, anybody wants to say anything? You say that the soul is seeing. The soul is not knowing. It only sees but does not know. Knowing is outside, seeing is inside.
Well, isn't knowing in the buddhi? And the seer abides in its own nature.
That's what he's saying. That knowing is outside the soul, it makes it see the buddhi.
So it's like omniscient. It's like it knows everything.
Who?
The Atma, the Atma.
Knows everything.
It's,
So then who is ignorant?
well, we are.
So you are different from the soul.
We are. It's like the soul is covered by dust, and if the whole point is to clean off the dust through.
So where is the dust?
The dust. Where is the dust?
In the soul or outside the soul?
It's outside the soul. It's covering the soul.
So is it touching the soul or it's not touching?
No.
It's not touching. And it is outside. Yes?
Outside the soul.
Outside, how far is it from the soul? It's not touching it, right? So it's just next to it or a little bit, few inches away.
Well, I would imagine that this very minuscule, separation between dust covering the soul.
So what is holding the dust?
God only knows.
God only knows, looks like he also knows. You are giving quite graphic description.
It's just what I've learned. And it sounds, it rings true.
So if he is covered by the dust, how can he see? When he said that he is seeing, we also seem to agree with that. Now you are saying he is covered with dust. So how he is seeing? If your eyes are covered with dust, how can you see? Right?
Well, it's
Or
like
is
you
it
can
seeing
see,
through the dust?
you can see through,
Seeing through the dust.
yeah, it's like, it's,
It's not very thick dust.
But I'm not saying that the soul sees, like a cameras. I'm saying the soul enables the seeing sense or anything that's happening outside the soul to happen.
Yeah, that I agree. But the question was, who is seeing? Right? That was the question we posed yesterday, or rather you posed it.
So my answer was just without the soul, the seeing process cannot take place.
Yes, that's very true.
And therefore, ultimately, it must be the soul who.
well, I just keep going back to the Yoga Sutras, which was my first, knowledge about this. And it's, there's only two choices. The seer is either abiding in its own nature, or it's identifying with the vrittis, the fluctuations.
So when he is identifying with the vrittis, where is the identification?
Where is the identity?
You know what is the meaning of identification?
That it's being pulled outwardly into the gunas, into the material world, as opposed to inward, abiding in its own true nature.
No, I'm asking, when he is identifying, he has to identify with something. No? So he is identifying with what?
With the fluctuations, with what's happening out in property.
In the mind. Right?
Right?
The vrittis. So that identification, where is the identification line? Because there is the Atma, right? There is the Purusha. Yogic language, Purusha. And there is the Vritti. Right? Vritti is inert. Right? And Purusha is conscious. And Purusha is identifying with the Vritti. Right? So where is the identification?
Well, now I'm just like falling back on Sankhya, and I would say the next thing is Mahat. After the Purusha's Mahat, and then comes Buddhi, and it gets less and less subtle. So
That's okay. Less and subtle. Are you understanding my question?
you're asking where is it identifying with fluctuations?
No, it's just like, suppose, let's not say, suppose there is person X, right? And then X takes a drug, right? And then X starts identifying with maybe with a dog, and start thinking, I am this dog, right? It's possible, right? So that identification is a knowledge that I am this. So where is this identification? In the person who is taking the drug, not in the dog. You understand?
Yeah.
So now I'm asking you that the Purusha is identifying. So where is this knowledge of identification? Now you fall back on your Yoga Sutra and give me the answer. You said in the mind, right? So mind is identifying with the mind.
Identification goes through the mind. Our mind makes identification.
So it is the mind who is identifying, not the Atma.
It's like a superposition of the material ego onto the spiritual ego. Because
So who is superimposing?
the conditioned ego is superimposing what is seen on the spiritual ego. So therefore whatever we see is only possible through the Atma, but it's happening through the material ego. So whatever is perceived is material ego.
So how the conditioned ego or material ego can superimpose on the real ego?
Because the real ego is reflecting with the
So who is superimposing?
on the other hand, the spiritual ego is superimposing onto the material ego.
So when it is superimposes onto the material ego, where is the superimposition?
The position should be what?
In the mind. So then it is the mind who is thinking, not the Atma. Right? Everybody gets this point? Do you want to say something?
No, it sounds like that what you're saying is that the ego, the Ankara, is believing itself to be the doer, to be the consciousness. And the part of the Atman that gets conditioned, the jiva, is confused. It's a vidya, due to a vidya of the Amkara, thinking that it is in charge. And the buddhi and the jiva, the atma, is in close relationship to one another.
Buddhi and Atma.
Yeah. So that reflection is what's throwing things off. This is where the vidya comes from.
So first, try to understand that there is actually no such thing as reflection of this or reflection of that. It is only for us to grasp the point. But how can Atma reflect in anything? Atma is just of all atomic in size. and it is non-material. So how can it reflect? Right? It is so subtle that there is no possibility of reflection. It's like even air cannot reflect. But to speak of things which are subtler than air, like the sky, and then the mind, and the ankar. So how will they reflect? So the idea of reflection, these things are given only so that you can understand things. But really speaking, there is no reflection. The reflection happens in things which are of same nature. One can reflect. Waves can also reflect. But these are the material things. So, just to give us an idea that when A reflects into B, then nothing happens to A. A remains A. So that is to say that the Purusha is reflecting and it remains unchanging. Because one of the characteristics of the Purusha is that it is avikari. Right? That it is without any modification. And that's why it is a problem that if you think that the knowledge of identification is in the Purusha, then it is undergoing modification all the time. Right? But it does not undergo any modification. It remains the way it is. So, and Shruti also says that asango hi ayam Purusha. This Purusha is asanga, completely detached. It is not mixed with anything, it does not come in contact with anything. There is nothing which can touch it. Because it's a different type of entity, energy. So, just like things are existing in space, but they don't create any influence on the space. There will be air, foul air, fragrant air. That does not do anything to the space. Not that the space becomes foul or fragrant. So what to speak of Atma, which is very subtle. So this is a very, difficult point to understand. It sounds a little illogical the way it is happening. Therefore in Bhagavatam there is a verse, Sayam Bhagavato Maya Yen Nayena Viruddhate Iswarasya Muktasya Karpanyam Bandhanam. That this is only because of Maya of Bhagavan, which works beyond logic. How? So that the jiva is liberated. It is free, basically. Jiva is not bound by anything. And it is Ishvara. It is controller. And yet it becomes bound and miserable. So this is done by the act of Maya. And no logic can explain it. Still we try to understand logically as much as possible. So Atma is that which is conscious inherently. And it has its own identity, I consciousness. And it cannot see without any senses. Because to see, Atma has to have senses. To hear, it has to have ear. To smell, it has to have nose. But actually Atma does not have any of this. Atma does not have eyes. So if Atma has eyes, then we have to think what kind of eyes it has. Human eyes or cat eyes. Right? So it can only function through a physical body or a spiritual body. There are only two ways that it can know things. And just as we are saying, we try to understand first at the material level that when I say that I eat cake, then I is just the ego, material ego. And this I thinks that I am this body. And therefore whatever is happening in the body thinks that it is I who is doing it. I is just a little part inside this body. Ego is a mechanical part in the body. And its quality is to think I. So just as you sit in a car and you drive and you travel 200 kilometers. So you say, I traveled 200 kilometers. Right? But you didn't travel even 1 inch. You just sat on the seat and it is the car which is traveling. Right? You didn't travel. If car did not move, you will remain in the same place. But what car is doing, you are appropriating that to yourself. You are saying, I traveled. Although you didn't travel at all. You just moved there. If you would have traveled, probably you follow on the car. It's good that you did not move. Otherwise, car will go one way, you will go another way. Yet, everybody says that, oh, I traveled or I drove 200 kilometers, I drove 300 miles, I drove this, I drove that. And if you were doing this, you were traveling. So similarly, it is body which is doing things. And then we say that I did it. Therefore Krishna says, Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. So it thinks that I am the doer. And the activity is done by the gunas, the senses, the body, but then ego says, I did this. So that is the job of ego. The only job of ego is to take credit. Whatever other parts are doing in this body, if eyes are seeing, I will gain problem seeing, but the action of seeing is happening through the eyes, they are the instrument. And then you say, I see, or I eat, I hear, I smell, I do this. But this eye is not doing anything. Right? And then this eye cannot work without Atma. Unless there is Atma in the body, the eye cannot function because it is only a mechanical part. So just as we have a car and the car has so many parts in it, but they don't work unless you have battery in it. If there is no battery in the car, then you cannot start it. Right? So it is the battery which is moving it or bringing it to life, so to say. And once it comes to life, then all other parts they start functioning. The wheels are rotating, steering is guiding, carburetor, fuel injection system, brakes, accelerator, and so many things these days to regulate temperature, air conditioner, heater. So all this works because there is Atma sitting. If Atma is not there, then nothing. So when seeing is an activity which happens in the body, and then I say that I see. And Atma is just sitting, Atma is not seeing. But we say Atma is the seer because without Atma it will not happen. So therefore Atma remains without any modification. So all the seeing is happening outside. And the only thing is this superimposition. And the superimposition is also not in the Atma. And this is the role of Maya. This is the knot, which they say is the knot in the heart of Hridaya Granthi. This is what Maya keeps, the ignorance. So ignorance, what is the ignorance? That the Atma, sometimes you hear that Atma has knowledge in it. Most people have this idea that Atma is full of knowledge. So, what do you think? How many of you think that Atma has knowledge in it? Yes? No? So what is inside?
I heard that there is some space for giving knowledge to the Atma.
So most people think like that everything is inside Atma and it is covered, as Joanne was saying, covered by dust. Remove the dust and all the knowledge will come out. Right? Yes?
Basically, I mean, the knowledge doesn't come out, but then it's there. I mean, it's like a...
What is there?
I mean, it's hard to say that the Atma doesn't have knowledge because knowledge, I mean, it has everything. I mean,
Yes, that's what people say. It has everything. It has happiness, it has knowledge. Everything is inside you. And only thing is that it is covered. So all you have to do is you remove the covering and then it will shine its own glory. So you are glorious. That's why you don't need anything from anybody. Because you are already perfect. Only thing is that you are not knowing this. Like you have money in your pocket and you forgot where it is and you are searching. So somebody has just to tell you, oh, the money is just in your pocket. Or you are searching for your watch and somehow you don't look at your wrist. Sometimes the watch is there, but it is not really. So your intelligence was just covered. When it is removed, it is immediately there. So you don't have to do anything. So all knowledge is inside you. Sounds good.
No, it makes no sense.
But this is what everybody is talking. If there are 1,000 spiritual organizations, and 999 will say this, except if you come to Jiva Institute. Anywhere else you will not hear this. Everywhere you will hear that full. Not only having it, but it is completely full. Just coming out. That little dust is there, you just dust it and then you see all the knowledge flying out. And therefore there have been many people, they didn't study any Shastra. They didn't go to any school. And they became self-realized and they spoke what is written in the Shastra. They spoke. In India there have been many people like this. You heard of J. Krishnamurti? So, you heard of Tirunelveli? So many people like that. They were all getting knowledge from inside. And it has to be true because you are part of God. God is omniscient, and if you are part of God, then you also must be omniscient. Right? Makes sense. So, but here when we read in Bhagavatam, it says Anadi Avidyaya, that it is completely ignorant, and this ignorance has no beginning. So, knowledge is not inside, it is only conscious. And because of consciousness, it has the ability to know. So that's why what is said in the Yoga Sutra is not very appealing. It is good only up to a certain extent. Beyond that, it has to be refuted. Because if you remove all your vrittis, what is left of you? Nothing. You're just like in deep sleep. Nothing more than that. Except that you know that you exist. So what is the use of that? So Bhagavatam is not interested in such things. Swaya Sritim Bhakti Mudasyate Vibhoklashyanti Keval Bodha Lagdhe. Those who give up the path of bhakti, devotion, love, and they are looking for this Keval Bodha, this Kevalya, Swarup Avasthanam, Tadadrashtu Swarupe Avasthanam. So Bhagavatam says these people are just working hard. Because they have given up the auspicious path of bhakti. So you work hard, bend your body this way, that way, breathing. Nothing comes out. Because it is all external. Go on doing it. So therefore here in this verse it was said, Athavav tav mahima amrita rasa samudra viprusha sakrida vilidhya samansi nishyandamana anavrat sukhena vismarita drishta shruta vishya suklesa bhasa param bhagavata ekantino bhagavati sarvabhuta priya suhidi sarvatmani nitram nirantaram nirvritta mansa. That those who are bhagavatas, those who are devotees, they have tasted one drop of bliss from the ocean of Lord's glory. And that Lord who is Sarvabhut Priya Suhi, completely absorbed in Him. Nitya Nirantar Nirvrit Mansa, and their mind are full of bliss. Because you have to get bliss from the source of bliss. If we are full of bliss, then why are we suffering? Because ignorance is only outside us, ignorance is not inside, right? It's not part of our soul. So therefore he says that these people, they do not take any interest in material sense pleasures because they are so much drenched in love of God. Even this material love is so enticing. Right? Everybody is looking for this. This is nothing. And you would have taste of that spiritual love with Krishna. Then you will not turn your head again towards all these material things. Your head will not turn. That is the meaning of the Nirvrit Mansa. Katham aveta madhumatne pune swartha priyatma priya sujana sadhavastaccha nambiram sevam sujana. How can they give up service to the feet of the Lord? Because they are very expert in knowing what is beneficial for them. They are no more in ignorance. Here in the material world, people are ignorant. They really do not know what is actually good for them. So they hop from one solution to another solution, and solution is more troublesome than the problem. You have a problem, you find a solution, and that creates 5 more problems. So whether to continue with the problem or find a solution, it's difficult to say. So the devotees, they don't give up the feet. Nayatra punarayam samsar pariyavata. Therefore they do not again fall down into the material world. It is not possible. So that is the problem. That's why we don't have many devotees here. Because when they become devotees, they don't want to come back. So if you get a chance to meet devotees, then take advantage. Because they are very rare, most rare. Durlabha manaso deho dehinam kshanabhangura. First of all, to get human birth is itself very rare. How many, you see just on earth, how many living beings, how many trees are there, how many mosquitoes floating around, how many ants, and so many other types of worms. If you just go to this garden, there are millions of living beings. And human beings are just only about 6.5 billion. So to get human birth is very rare. And then in this human birth to get interest in spiritual life, very rare. And then even if you have interest to actually get the association of Vaikuntha Priya, devotees of Krishna, that is very rare. So tatrapi durlabham mande Vaikuntha Priya Krishna. So therefore, why? Because Vaikuntha Priya people have no interest. Even if devotees are existing in the material world, they don't want to go out. They remain confined to their own place and absorbed in their loving devotional service to the Lord. Why they have to go around here and there? So only sometimes they may be impelled give the message of Bhakti to others. Usually they don't have it. So this is a very nice verse. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he comments, says, Tadevam bahirmukhan akshipya tad bhaktan stuvanti. In the previous verse, he spoke against the devotees. non-devotees, Bahirmukha, do not take interest in the verse number 37 he was talking about. And they say that the world is not real and so on. And then he said that the world is actually real. And now he speaks about the bhaktas, the devotees. So sakridapi avlidhaya ashvaditaya. So even if you taste the nectar of bhakti, devotion, love once, that is enough. Then you can never forget it. And it will clean out all your samskaras. In the other processes you try to purify your heart, right? You do vasana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyana, for purification of the heart. In bhakti you get to taste once, all samskaras cleaned out. All samskaras are fried like the seeds. They cannot sprout anymore. Because this bhakti is so powerful. It's most powerful. It's like in the body, the Atma is the most powerful thing because it makes the body function. Like that among the spiritual paths, bhakti is the Atma of everything. It's only because of bhakti that other paths have some potency in it. Otherwise, without bhakti, they are lifeless, like the body without Atma. So without bhakti, nothing works, whether it is karma, jnana, ashtanga yoga, raj yoga, laya yoga, different types of yoga. They don't give you the ultimate result without bhakti. Impossible. It's like the dead body cannot do anything. They are dead without bhakti. So that's why Patanjali has to include Ishwar Pranidhana. Because you know that without Ishwar Pranidhana, without surrender to God, the yoga will not work. In Karma Yoga also, they have to say Krishna Arpana Vastu. Let this be offered to Krishna. And same with Gyan Marg. Mam Chavya Vichareణ Bhakti Yogena Sevita Sagunan Sankirtetan Brahma Yoga. You cannot have Brahma experience of Brahman without Bhakti. It is not possible. So Bhakti is the Atma of all processes. And therefore the devotees, they work only for Bhakti. Nothing else. They take shelter of bhakti alone. So therefore they say that Nivritta Manasa, that their mind does not deviate from anything. Anya Vilasita Sunya, they have no other desire except for Gyan Karma Jnana. No covering of Gyan or Karma. So he said that sakridapi avlidhaya, if you just have once if you taste it, then janitena sukhena premanandena, and you get premananda. There are various types of ananda. Ananda means happiness, pleasure, bliss. So there are various types of ananda. So the supreme ananda is premananda, the ananda of bliss, love, ananda of bliss of love, prema. Because this is most captivating. And this love is of course love for God, Supreme Lord. Ekantina tvat seva ekatan manasatvat. So they are ekanti because they are only fixed in doing service to the Lord. Their minds are not deviating for anything else. Because nothing interests them anymore. It's like if you are hungry, very hungry. Those who have strong pitta, they know what hunger is. So at that time you cannot think of anything else but food. And if someone tries to deviate you from something else, you become angry. So your mind, your concentration is only on the food. Even if you have to do something, if you are sitting in the class, you are only thinking, when is going to stop? Because hunger is such a thing. There is nothing more troublesome than hunger. Various types of troubles you face in your life, but hunger is very troublesome. If you have a good digestive system, then you know this. Otherwise, there are some people who don't feel hungry, so they don't have this. So just as your mind becomes absorbed in food, and if you have to do fasting, and you are a pitta type, and you lie down and dream of food, if you close your eyes, you only see food. So love is like that. When you are in love, then your mind is just absorbed in beloved. Cannot think of anything else. So therefore he says, ekantina tat seva ekatan mansattva. Your mind is ekatan. Ekatan means not going here and there. Just one pointed. Unidirectional. It's only one direction. Otherwise mind wanders. Therefore in the yoga you try to fix your mind. You work so hard and still so difficult to fix the mind. In Bhakti, it's so difficult to move the mind to anything else. I think I told that once a gopi was sitting on the bank of Yamuna and she was meditating. So Narada Rishi was passing by and he was very surprised because gopi and what they have to do with meditation. So out of curiosity he asked her, what are you doing? He said, I am practicing how to take away my mind from Krishna. Because I have some other things to do and my mind is so fixed I cannot think of anything else. So this is what it means, ekatan. Devarshi adinapi anupashina. So we say that they are talking about Devarshi, etc. Tadapi Devarshayadayas tesu bhutarameva prasidantu atiya. So they do not worship devas, rishis, etc. These bhaktas. Sometimes you see Indian temples, people are worshipping so many deities. But actually devotees worship Ishtadevata, whoever is their Ishtadevata. They don't worship all kinds of deities. Anupasana. And that does not mean that the devatas or the rishis, they are angry or upset with them. No, he says, Tadapi devarshayadaya tesu bahutaram eva prasiddham. They are very happy. Everybody becomes happy with them. Sarvesham bhutanam priye suhide sarvesham atmani che. Why? Because Lord is the Atma of everybody. So just as when you pour water at the root of a tree, then all the leaves, branches, flowers, fruits, everything gets nourished. So Lord Krishna, He is the root of everything. That's what we are reading. That He is the source of everything. So if you worship Him, then you don't have to worship 33 million other gods, which are like the leaves hanging on that tree. They are naturally getting their supply and they are happy. So that's why we read Govardhan Puja, Krishna, he stopped the worship of Indra. He says, no need. Even if he is the god of rain, you worship Govardhan. And Indra is just one person appointed by Krishna himself. Govardhan is Krishna. So there is no need to worship him separately. By worshipping Govardhan, Indra is also worshipped, just as by putting water at the root of the tree, everyone gets nourished. Or just as when you put food in your stomach, then all the senses they get supplies. Not that you are individually giving food to the nose, to the eyes, to the ear. It will be a very big problem if we have to do that. So the system is that you give to the root and from there everybody gets. So therefore he said that even the devas are happy. Why? Because he is the Surid, he is the Atma of everyone. Tvatsevayam satyam te sarve api sevita eva bhagavu iti bhava. So he says the sense is that when you are worshipped, then all these other devas receive, they get worshipped. Swartha kusla iti tena tvatseva tyagina kuyogi prabhritaya swartha dhapini. So he is calling the devotees as Swartha Kushala. So I already explained this word yesterday. Means who are in knowledge of their true welfare. And because they are in knowledge of their true welfare, he says that those who are not devotees, therefore they are kuyogis. They are not good yogis because they don't know what is ultimately beneficial. So this is a very nice statement by the Devas. Although they are going to ask to kill Vritrasura, ultimately after speaking all this, and that is very surprising that why they don't engage in just pure devotional service. So in any case, what they are saying that is good for us. And even if they are not following it, doesn't matter. We can follow it. So I will stop there. There is one question.
But the soul does have a capacity to acquire knowledge, right? If it, or is it only referring to Shabda, or it's transcendental knowledge?
Say it again.
The soul must have a capacity to acquire knowledge.
Yes, you have to understand that knowledge is in our condition when we have this material body. Knowledge is within the body. And it has the capacity, means it makes the body capable of doing it. And then when you have spiritual body, then it's in the spiritual body.
Yeah, but when spiritual knowledge, so how does the soul become enlightened?
So then this spiritual knowledge enters into the soul.
That's what I mean. So in spiritual knowledge, in any form, Shabda, Sadhu.
Yes, the Sabda, then there is a Sabda has two parts. When we are under the influence of Maya, then with Sabda we only get indirect knowledge. And then when we are clean, we don't have covering, then the Sabda will give us direct experience.
Okay.
So therefore, although there is no need of sadhana, because Shabda actually is not different from its subject. Instead of say that the name and noun are non-different. But because of our disqualification, we don't experience it. So if you remove that disqualification, then immediately you have the experience. So that's what he's saying, Sakara Avinidaya. Taste it once or you know it once, then it will not go away. And therefore then you will be impressed. So there is natural renunciation. That's why it is said that Bhakti gives knowledge, and knowledge means you have the experience, and once you have experience, then you become detached naturally.
Can you say where the Akasha Chronic is located? Can you say where the Akasha Chronic or the Akasha record is located? Kind of field of our knowledge.
They are in the Akasha. That's why they are called Akasha.
So,
Because Shabda is the quality of Akash.
so to get access to that, you need to have your consciousness on that level.
Yes.
Gurudev, I have this one question. You know, like when the cow gives birth to its baby, the cow's baby automatically goes to mother's breast to drink the milk. So it's proof that the cow, the child itself, he has the knowledge within itself. So doesn't that prove that knowledge is within us?
Yes. That's a very good proof. Right. What about the other knowledge? He has only this much knowledge.
Why does how come this cow has that knowledge?
So that knowledge is because of the past samskaras. But in the past also must have been cow once and has milk, drank milk, so those samskaras are lying in the chitta. So those samskaras become activated.
Is any form of so-called instinct samskara?
Yes. But nothing is coming from anyone else. So, from that point of view, it is a fact that there are a lot of things lying in our chitta. But they are not in the soul, they are not in the Atma, they are outside. And we are lying there, we don't have a direct access to that.
Like Vivekananda said that if you don't have to teach student, the student already has the knowledge within himself, you just have to take it out.
Yes.
So he's right there or no?
Yeah, many people speak like that. So how you take it out?
Like you cannot teach a dumb, you cannot very smart child, so I think maybe he's right.
Vivekananda was also reading books. Yes? He went to school. So why he went to school? So that was taken out from inside.
When does it start? That the soul is. When does it start on this process that the soul is able to gather knowledge?
It starts from accepting a guru, taking diksha, that is the beginning. And then there are different steps. Anartha nivritti, nishtha ruchi. We did this in the retreat. So then you come to the bhav platform. Then it becomes permanent.
There is one more question. In the very classes they say that like if someone takes the spiritual path and he carries on for some years and then he fell down or something happens, then again he begins from the same level. So does that mean that he has the knowledge within himself or what is it?
Yeah, there's samskara in the chitta, that's what I'm saying. Whatever you do, it gets recorded in the chitta. So we have samskaras from past lives, samskaras from this life. So that's why you have seen that there are some children